You're welcome back. We're still on the title, The Most Critical Skill You Need to Win the Battle in Times Like This. In part one, we were sad to discover that just being dressed up as a soldier, carrying the weapons like a soldier, and marching forward will not help you to win the battle if you lack this one critical skill. And I gave us an assignment to discover what is this one critical skill. The very skill that a man that was highly anointed and even popular, people followed and loved, and he was even anointed as a king, lost the battle and got public disgrace in the time of battle because he lacked that one skill. We mentioned also that even a wonderful daughter, the only daughter of the covenant tribe of Israel, among 12 brothers, could have been greatly celebrated in life and more in the spiritual realm, lost the battle because she lacked that very skill. Lost the battle for her purity and her destiny and her worth and everything, and became married in the wrong way to a rapist. And from that time, we never heard about him. Remember, she died. And many others. So your beauty, the fact that you are in a privileged position, in a wonderful family, you are in a place where you are popular, handsome, beautiful, dressed for battle, it will not won. We also mentioned again that another family, whole family, and they were supposed to be family that are dedicated to the Lord, but they missed this skill. And when there was famine, all they had to fight for survival, all they had was their stomach, the hunger in their stomach. And the fact that many people were all running out of that land, relocating, and they relocated to where there was food and lost the battle and died, father and two sons. So what is this? This very, very critical skill. I'm sure by now some people have guessed, because we read from 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, and we mentioned it that you have to endure suffering along as all soldiers. Don't get tied around with civil affairs. I'll read that very well again. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3, so that I can identify this one issue. Endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Christ Jesus. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. So for every soldier that will make it in time like this and in the war front, must recognize that he was enlisted by an officer. There's a commander. There's a commander. The army is not tattered. The army has structure. There's a chief commander who enlists every officer. And being a soldier immediately puts you into a category, because there are those called civilians, and there are civilian soldiers too. They dress like soldiers, they are civilians. He said, because they are entangled somewhere, they are trapped somewhere. But he said, for this particular group of soldiers, as young people we used to sing, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. I am a soldier in God's army. How? Huh? I don't want to continue, but I wanted to finish the song. But the critical issue here is that when somebody recognizes that he's a soldier and must be separated from civilian lifestyle, and then is seeking to hear, to please, to obey completely the commanding officer to the last order, then you now know you have gotten the one skill. Are you getting me? You want to summarize that skill, because you hear here, this is somebody as truly a soldier, because unless you are separated to a military lifestyle from the civilian lifestyle, so there's a separation first, and then you recognize that you have been enlisted. You have been enlisted into an army of a particular nature under a commanding officer. And after recognizing that, then your whole life is about hearing 2 Timothy 2, verse 3. In Living Translation, it says, endure suffering, along with me as a good soldier of Christ. As a good soldier of Christ. So there are soldiers and there are good soldiers. I want you to be thinking. There are soldiers, but there are good soldiers. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life. And may I add, emphasize, good soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life. For then, they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. So you can see that this, first of all, they are very conscious that they have been enlisted. These are soldiers enlisted. And they have only one passion for life: to please the commanding officer who enlisted them. They are very proud to be separated from civilian lifestyle, and are so proud of the capacity to endure what bloody civilians and poor soldiers cannot endure. Are you getting the picture? The Passion Translation says, overcome every form of evil as a victorious soldier of Jesus, the Anointed One. For every soldier called to active duty must divorce himself from the distractions of this world so that he may fully satisfy the one who chose him. Fully satisfy. It said, every form, overcome every evil. Enduring hardship. From Passion Translation, it means you overcome every evil by enduring hardship, enduring inconvenience, enduring the fact that you chose not to do a particular thing because you want to please your commanding officer. Enduring. And it says, as a victorious soldier, it means anyone that is able to endure hardship, endure inconvenience while able to pleasing the commanding officer, is already tagged victorious soldier. So they are defeated soldiers. So I want you to understand in winning the war, not just I'm a soldier, in the army of the Lord I'm a soldier, in God's army I'm brave like a lion, gentle like a dove. Beautiful song. But they say grace you have to receive. They say grace. It's a skill. It's a training. There's something else happened to your life to separate you among the victorious soldiers who are separated from civilian lifestyle. And I want us to think, what are civilian lifestyle? I'm not bothered about that right now, because it's something you can easily identify. In normal life, most of us are civilians, So I will leave you to think about the character of a civilian and what they get entangled with, what they get trapped with, what pleases them, what they spend their evenings, their night, their daytime pursuing, and then what a soldier, a victorious soldier pursues. It says for every soldier called to active duty, it shows that this soldier, this victorious soldier, has accepted a call. You don't stray into it. You have accepted a call to active duty. Have you heard a soldier that slept on duty and they packed every weapon? And he stood up and then he said, "Yes, sir," only to discover that I've lost the battle while sleeping. Active, on duty. He says, must divorce himself from the distractions of the world. Can you see now? That's it. The civilians are those distracted by the world, the trends in the world, the ideologies of the world, the heroes of the world, the movie stars of the world, the song stars of the world, and every other, the fashions of the world. That is for bloody civilians. Say, divorce yourself. Divorce means cut off from the distractions, because you can never win the war as long as you are in the midst of that distraction. No matter how anointed you are. That's why I started with a sad commentary of anointed people who miss and got disgrace in public in the time of war because they couldn't have the skill, so that he may fully satisfy the one who chose him. Fully satisfy, fully please. So what is that skill? That skill that fully satisfies the commanding officer. Who is the commanding officer? What is he looking for in the soldiers he has called, in the soldiers he has enlisted in his army? What is he looking for? This question is answered clearly. From the beginning, the first Adam and Eve fell because they missed that skill. The first battle in life in Genesis was lost because of that skill. What was it? Your ability to listen very attentively to what God has said. Not only listen, but hear. Some people can look as if they are listening, but they are not hearing. To hear with 2 ears completely. No ambiguity, no confusion. You are too sure of what he has said. And not only that, after being very sure, then there's a readiness. A readiness to contend in the place of obedience to every instruction, because the fight will be about the instructions. Position yourself to contend with whatever it takes. That's when the endurance as a good soldier, as a victorious soldier will come. That contention, that readiness says, some I will not change my mind. Some I will not dilute what he has said. Some I will not postpone obedience. Some I will not ignore what he has been said. That ability to hear, listen first, attentively, because some people cannot hear because they didn't listen. And after listening, to hear with your total life and ears, and that is hear him in the hearts. And then position yourself confidently, boldly to obedience, no matter what you're going to suffer for it. Pay the price, endure hardship, and carry out every instruction. Oh my God, that is the secret. That is, and no wonder about it, as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the children of God. God cannot lead his children to war. He is the commander-in-chief of the army of heaven. Jesus is the one enlisting us. He cannot lead his children to defeat. He has never lost a battle. Excuse me. Have you seen, did he lose his battle when he had conscripted soldiers in the life of Daniel who were ready ready to obey, ready to hear in Babylon. They were playing another music. They were playing another sound. They were giving other instructions, what to bow to, what to do to. But this young man in a foreign land was connected to the commander-in-chief of the armies of heaven, was conscious that his identity is been enlisted into that army, and he can only respond to one commander. Nobody can respond to two commanders and two instructions in the war front and be successful. And can you know what he did? Only one. Don't eat that. It will defile you. Yes, master. Don't bow down. You will become under the control of their gods. Yes. Don't. And what happened? He became 10 times better. Not only winning the battle, but he reigned, he ruled over a country in his youthful time. The kind of results was so outstanding that Babylon made a decree that anyone that speaks evil about the God of Daniel, who is that God that can deliver from the mouth of the lions? Did you hear him crying when they said, if you don't do this, we'll throw you into the lion's den? Did you see him crying? Why? Because he was listening to the commanding officer. He was at rest. He was stable. When you are hearing the voice of the commanding officer and you are ready to obey, what is shaking others? You are hearing another tune. You are receiving another instruction. And can you imagine that he was not perturbed? They threw him in. No crying, no begging. And he landed. And just as the commanding officer said, come in, I'll visit you there, he was sitting there, lion's mouth closed, and with his commanding officer. We talk about the three Hebrew slaves in the flame. What are you talking about? When they said they will in fact increase the fire of the furnace, wouldn't they have run and said, King, I know God can answer, but for that one, both of that fire, we'll just bow for now. We'll just, I'm sorry, we're just going to bow for now. No, they were hearing the instruction of their commanding officer. He said, let me tell you, they don't know that you can pass through fire. It will never kill against you. You pass through water, it can never overpower you or flood you. I am with you in the fire. I am with you in the lion's den. I'm with you in that trouble, and I'm going to shock them. These three Hebrew slaves shocked the whole nation. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And for this segment, again, I want to tell you and read this last passage as we go. It is only in this listening, only in this listening, only in this listening that you will win the battle. You listen attentively. You listen attentively, you hear, you understand, you obey every instruction. It just reminds me of a short clip which I would like you to watch in this presentation, that somebody said, I only choose what I obey. I don't read everything in the Bible. I only keep the portion I obey. I don't want to just joke. So you can imagine that many people have devised methods, very many methods, to seek, to dodge, to pretend. And children, if only you be obedient, if only you listen, if only you allow God, the master, the overall commander-in-chief of the army of heaven, if only you are ready to please him, whatever it will cost you, even if it costs you your friends, it will cost you something. You say, no, I am enlisted in the army. I've accepted to be a member of this army. So if you are listening to my voice as I conclude for today, have you been enlisted? You cannot be enlisted unless you surrender your life to Jesus. Unless you say, Jesus, I want to be in your army. Jesus, I want you to forgive my sins. I have given my life to you. Forgive me, cleanse me for all sin. Let me join your army. If you have done that already, you're already called and enlisted. If you didn't know before, today, accept that God has called you, enlisted you into his army. But there are two voices. Either his voice as the commander or the voice of the civilian leader who is the devil of the civilians, and the soldiers are defeated. It is the voice of the devil. And we are saying that the one skill is that you must have ability to hear. Listen, hear. Be bold and courageous to obey every instructions, and your way will be prosperous. That's what Joshua 1:8 says. So I pray for you today that you get determined. In the next short segments, we teach you now how to hear, ensure you're hearing, and what you gain by hearing. God bless you. There's a passage that is important I read as I conclude. Because this requirement of hearing the commander-in-chief of the army is something very important even from the beginning of times, in the times of Moses and also in the time of Christ. Let me read the one from Exodus 19. Verse 3, Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. The Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "Give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. You know how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the people of the earth. For all the earth belongs to me. And you'll be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel." Did you hear that? And do you know that this is repeated in the New Testament? In 1 Peter chapter 2. I'll read from verse 7. Listen very well. "Yes, you who trust him, recognize the honor God has given him. But for those who reject him, the stone that the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone. And he's a stone that makes people stumble, the rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they do not obey God's word, and so they meet the fate that was planned for them. But you are not like that. You are a chosen people. You are a royal priest, a holy nation, God's own very possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of the darkness into his wonderful light. Once you had no identity as a people, now you are God's people. Once you received no mercy, now you have received God's mercy." Can you imagine that? I leave you at that point, telling you that there's a commanding officer. And I leave you at this point, telling you there's a commanding officer. And when you obey, can you hear? The command, they need to obey. They need to choose Jesus. They need to recognize that you are under his authority. They need to submit to that authority. It's critical. And as you obey, it says something happens to you. This is part what we're going to pick in part 3. Part 3 of this critical skill needed. Something happened to you. So please don't miss out. Don't miss out. God bless you.